Hey, do you like zombies in your video games? Well, thankfully, there are plenty of games with zombies to play or look forward to throughout 2022. We've got 10 great ones, so let's get started off with number 10. Projekt Z is a pretty cool idea. So this is a first-person zombie shooter. It's cooperative, it's free to play, but it's set in World War II and you're stranded on an island filled with zombies that the Nazis have been experimenting on. That's definitely not the first time we've done that in video games, but what makes this one unique is a little bit more of a gritty and realistic atmosphere and an emphasis on finding things and building, similar somewhat to Fallout 4's settlement building system. So basically there's like a whole hub, and as you go out and conquer areas, it actually will help and affect different areas that you jump into. And in terms of playing that cooperatively, it could probably make things pretty interesting. It's also going to have, of course, a more traditional wave-based survival mode. And you know what? It looks cool and simple, good, clean, free-to-play fun. We don't know too much about the monetization yet or how a lot of this is going to work out, but if you're into Nazi zombie style stuff, but also maybe something a little bit more like Left 4 Dead with a dash of Fallout building, Projekt Z seems promising. It doesn't have a release date yet, but we're hoping to really see it this year. Next up at number 9, we have REQUISITION VR, because, I mean, hey, we gotta give some love to VR sometimes. It has some great zombie shooters overall, and this REQUISITION game looks to be no slouch. Think of something like Left 4 Dead VR, you know, you and 3 other players cooperatively, or single player, just blasting zombies, but with a bigger emphasis on surviving in one environment, and scavenging and crafting improvised items to survive. Like, yes, there are guns, but there's a big advantage to creative crafting, like tape 2 axes together or slap some kitchen knives on the end of a chair and just bash some zombies. It seems pretty cool, and since it's in VR, you're doing all of this with your hands, you know, physically climbing things, grabbing stuff, and putting stuff together. I hope it feels as good as it looks. Now, it seems like a really fun and creative idea with an additional PvP and sandbox mode if you want to just do something more traditional, but the basic setup sounds good to us. We'll definitely be checking this one out when it drops in early access this September. Next, over at number 8, we have Showa, American Story. This is a weird, seemingly sort of indie project that we've been talking about for a while now. And as you can see on screen here, it's pretty wild. It's like this weird mashup of like a post-apocalyptic Devil May Cry lollipop chainsaw zombie killing adventure game with a really unique hook. You play as this like girl who's reanimated from the dead, and she's a badass fighter, but she exists in an America that is taken over by the Japanese after World War II. But the American heartland is riddled with zombies, so it's up to you to do cool combos and use machine guns to kill them all. This game seems super over the top in all the right ways. It could also look a little busted, but we're hoping we get our hands on it this year because it just looks a little different, and we're itching for something different, and it's got zombies, so points for that. Next, over at number 7, we have No More Room in Hell 2. This is the follow-up to a game from like 2011. The original No More Room in Hell was a source mod that was just an incredibly fun and playable co-op zombie shooter with a pretty dark atmosphere, but also very much heavily inspired by specifically George Romero's zombie stuff, you know, for the legend that he is. Now, with No More Room in Hell 2, it seems like they're really just ramping everything up. It's all about surviving up to 8-player co-op with just endless zombies coming at you, but it's going to require teamwork and coordination across pretty big maps that are featuring some randomly generated elements and procedural elements to kind of keep you on your toes. If that does sound familiar to similar games, yeah, I get you, but there's good emphasis on scavenging and making your own items, and so far visually it also looks pretty good too. The coolest part about this game, and I hope this sticks, the release date is October 31st, 2022. Hell yeah, let's go. Next, over at number 6, we have a game called Ill, which was one that a lot of us were wondering if it was actually real, but as more and more gameplay snippets come out, it definitely seems like it's a real game. It seems like a very small independent project, but visually it's very impressive. This is Unreal Engine 5, and there's a lot of emphasis on the gore, blowing apart zombies in first person, the weight and physics of the zombies, and of course, tons and tons of details on these gross, icky creatures. The more they tease this game, the better and better it looks, because like we said, at first it kind of looked like a weird prototype, but its latest showings have looked a little bit more impressive. We still need to see like a long, lengthy gameplay trailer to really understand what's going on, but just a good, gritty, chunky, nasty first-person zombie shooter is something that we would definitely like to see, because we talked a lot in this video about cooperative shooters and zombie hordes, but just good old-fashioned survival horror elements, we need those. And we're really hoping that Ill delivers, and we hope we see a lot more of it this year. Next, over at number 5, we have Daymare 1994 Sandcastle. This is the follow-up to Daymare 1998, which was a really awesome indie experience, heavily inspired by the classic Resident Evil 2 Raccoon City Outbreak. And it was just a good, solid third-person shooter with survival horror elements and good spooky scares and atmosphere. And so what they're doing here with Daymare 1994 Sandcastle is going for a bit of a prequel vibe, involving government spies and you working for a secret organization where you're dropped into locations to extract and search. Very much giving off Umbrella Soldier vibes, but it totally works for this type of thing. As of right now, it is given a 2022 launch window, so we don't know for sure when exactly we're going to see it in 2022, but we're really looking forward to it. If you haven't played Daymare 1998, consider checking it out. Next, over at number 4, we have a game called Aftermath. This was revealed at a gaming live stream event, and the original trailer really blew us away. We've been thinking about it ever since. In it, you play as Charlie Gray, an astronaut who gets caught up in the events of this world that is just absolutely messed up and filled with zombies, and you're searching for your sister, and everything just looks really chaotic and scary. As you can see, it's very much a third-person zombie shooter where you're mowing down hordes, but it does look like it's got a little bit more of an artsy storytelling vibe to it, a lot more atmosphere and music and scary visuals. That is something we are absolutely into, and we can use that in our zombie games more and more, especially with this sci-fi spin. There's just a lot going on. You know, the initial trailer, you might not realize that there are zombies, but there's definitely some zombie killing going on here, and we're really excited to see how it plays out. Aftermath is slated as coming soon for PlayStation consoles and PC. Now, next, over at number 3, we have SurrounDead. SurrounDead. Get it? Oh god, I love zombie game puns. Anyway, this is an open world survival game with a really cool art style. I mean, look at it. It kind of reminds me of a cross between Valheim and Minecraft. Now, this was actually made from a solo developer, and it's in early access, and so far, people have been really digging it. Now, instead of another competitive world, what's refreshing about this one is that it's more of a classic chill survival game where you just fight off zombies, use guns and melee weapons, you find stuff, you trade, and you set up little areas to survive and really build things up, you know? There's a lot of loot and there's limited ammo, which kind of makes you pay attention more and gives it a little bit of a survival horror element, which we definitely like. There's a solid inventory system, some good crafting, and zombies are, you know, okay on their own, but if you're surrounded or facing off against a few, that's where fight or flight is gonna have to kick in. That's where things can really get sweaty. Now, again, it's in early access, so there's not a ton of content, but what is there shows tons of promise. I mean, look at social media or like Steam reviews. People seem to be really excited to see where this goes next, and there is a roadmap. Now, we'd like more to do, more to see, maybe even a bit of co-op, but if you like survival and you like building, but you want something that just has a little bit of a different vibe, SurrounDead could be something great. So we're mentioning it here and keeping our eye on it. Now, down to number 2, we have Dying Light 2. We've talked about this one a ton. It released earlier in 2022, and if you love zombies and open world adventuring, oh boy, man, does this game have a lot for you. Now, I'm still processing. I'm not sure if I like it more than the first game, but it has a ton of cool zombies to kill. It has a ton of cool moves and weapons to upgrade and learn to just improve your zombie killing efficiency in a pretty brutal and interesting world that is just really, really well developed. Not to mention the fact that you can play it cooperatively with friends, so you can run around parkouring around the city, killing zombies, grappling hooking, doing your thing. And not only that, we expect the developers to add a lot more content for years to come. If they support it anywhere near as much as they did with the first game, there's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming to this if you haven't played it yet. It's on all the major platforms, and if you haven't checked it out, you should. And finally, down at number 1, the Callisto Protocol. This Dead Space inspired third-person action-adventure survival horror type game just seems absolutely awesome and totally what the doctor ordered. You were fighting against gruesome, horrific, undead-looking creature dudes that were seemingly once human. It's all very unfortunate, but also nice and nasty. If you've played a Dead Space game, which this game is, not ashamed to admit they are inspired by, expect lots of gore and cool ways to take these things out, but also a good amount of stress. With a survival horror game, things are not always easy, and you're not always this powerful badass just crushing your way through hordes of enemies. Sometimes one of these nasties can just take you out, and that's what makes these games stressful and enjoyable. The horror tension, the survival aspect elements seem to be there. We're really looking forward to getting our hands on this one in December. We're hoping that release date sticks because we just love games like this, to be honest. Those are all the zombie games worth mentioning, but we got a bonus one we had to drop. Of course, Evil Dead, the game released this year. It's a fun, asymmetrical multiplayer game that is really fun with friends, and you're fighting off against all manner of zombies, skeletons, ghouls, and of course, a Kandarian demon, which one person is playing as. It's very cool, and if you love Evil Dead, personally, I feel like they actually really nailed it. Another bonus, the Resident Evil Reverse multiplayer is still slated for this year. Towards the end of the year with the Resident Evil 8 Village expansion stuff, we're finally supposed to be getting Reverse, where you can play competitively against other players, playing as iconic Resident Evil characters and monsters, and zombies are there too. And also, Outbreak Island Pendulum. This is where you crash land on Outbreak Island and fight to survive. It's an open world survival game with zombies, and it looks cool. But like I said, those are all the zombie games worth checking out this year, so if you've been playing any of these or looking forward to any of these in the near future, let us know what you're thinking in the comments. Now, if you like this video and maybe you learned about a new game, clicking the like button's all you gotta do. It really helps us out. And if you're new, consider subscribing, because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.